There comes a moment in every life when we must decide whether we will be a servant to what was or a creator of what is. A moment when the soul whispers softly, patiently, it's not the past that binds you. It's what you continue to think about it. The past is over, but your thoughts are alive. They are the architects of your present, the paintbrush in your hand, the weather in your sky. You are not a victim of what happened unless you keep repeating it with your mind. You were never meant to live in reverse. And yet, how many lives are lived as echoes? How many hearts beat not for today, but in rhythm with some yesterday that refuses to loosen its grip? But let me ask you something. Who is holding whom? Is the past holding you, or are you holding the past? You see, the ego loves to rewind. It finds safety in stories. It finds identity in wounds. It says, look what they did. Look how I suffered. Look what I lost. And in this theater of repetition, the ego builds its stage, dramatic, tragic, noble in its pain. But the soul does not live there. The soul lives now. It breathes in the eternal present. It sings not of what was, but of what is becoming. You are not your history. You are not your trauma. You are not the chapter that hurt the most. You are not the character the world tried to write for you. You are not even the pain that felt so real, so permanent, so defining. You are the awareness that can choose right here, right now, a different thought. And that one thought, that one single shift in perception can break a lifetime of illusion. The past is not the cause. Your thoughts are, you say, but you don't know what happened to me. And you're right, I don't. But what I do know is that every single thing that happened. It had its time, it had its shape, it had its impact. But what gives it life now, what makes it breathe again, what makes it feel real again is your decision to relive it in your mind. What would happen if you stopped? What would happen if you declared not with bitterness, not with denial, but with absolute clarity that no longer defines me? I am not what I survived, I am what I choose now. You would begin to experience freedom, not the kind you shout about, not the kind you post about, but the quiet, sacred kind, the kind that shows up in your nervous system, in your breath, in your relationships, in the way you look at the sunrise and realize you're no longer imprisoned by a memory. Let us go deeper. Imagine you are walking through a vast forest, and with each step you carry a stone. Each stone represents a story, a heartbreak, a betrayal, a failure. You carry them because someone told you they were yours. You carry them because you think you must, because to drop them would be to forget, and forgetting you fear would mean the pain had no meaning. But here's the paradox. The pain only has meaning if it wakes you up, not if it chains you down. You can place the stones down now, not in bitterness, not in anger, but in reverence, in understanding, in truth, because the stones were never the problem. It was the decision to keep carrying them. Healing is not about rewriting the past. It's about releasing the belief that the past is the author of your now. There is a difference between remembrance and attachment. One honors the journey, the other prolongs the suffering. And you must ask yourself again and again with courage, am I remembering to grow, or am I remembering to bleed? You are not here to bleed forever. You are here to rise. And so I ask you, what thought are you thinking right now? Is it liberating you, or is it recreating your pain? Is it healing your nervous system, or is it replaying an old film you already know the ending to? The mind will tell you, this is just the way I am. I've always been this way. But that is not the voice of your spirit. That is the voice of conditioning. That is the voice of the world trying to speak through your internal radio. You are not the voice. You are the one who hears it. And in that awareness, that profound spiritual awareness, you become free, because now you can choose, not react, not replay, not defend, but choose. Choose again. Choose peace instead of control. Choose compassion instead of narrative. Choose now instead of then. Choose love even when the mind says it's safer to hate. It is not your past that is choosing. It is you. And you are not your past. You are presence. You are the unconditioned, unrepeatable, unshakable expression of the divine. And the divine does not dwell in wounds. The divine dwells in awakening. You say, but how do I let go? And I say, you don't have to force it. Letting go is not something you do, it's something you allow. You stop rehearsing the story. You stop feeding it with your attention. You stop bowing to the memory as if it were your master. You become aware, you observe. And slowly, quietly, like clouds drifting away from the sun, the pain begins to lift. You were never broken, only buried. Buried under belief, buried under story, buried under thoughts you inherited from a world asleep to its own light. But you are waking up. You are the light noticing itself. Let the past rest, not because it doesn't matter, but because you do. You matter. Your peace matters. Your joy matters. And you cannot drink from the river of life while holding a cup filled with yesterday's poison. Pour it out, not in anger, in gratitude, because even your pain was a teacher. Even your darkness showed you something. Even your wounds whispered truths. But now it's time to graduate, to step forward, to remember who you really are. A spiritual being, having a temporary experience, not defined by the story, but illuminated by the presence that watches it. You are that presence. And the moment you return to that truth, not just as an idea, but as a lived experience, the chains fall. The past stops chasing you because you stop running. There is no healing without awareness, and there is no awareness while clinging to blame. You are free to choose again. You are free to say, that may have happened, but it no longer defines how I love, how I live, how I see myself. You are free to tell a new story, not one of survival, but one of remembrance, remembering your eternal nature, your divine origin, your infinite worth. You are the sky, not the storm. You are the witness, not the wound. You are the soul, not the script. Let the mind scream if it must. Let it throw its tantrum, but do not give it the keys to your kingdom. Breathe. Feel that? That's the sound of you returning to yourself. Not the small self, the name, the age, the roles, but the big self, the silent presence behind the curtain of form, the stillness that cannot be shaken, the love that has no opposite. This self has no past. It only is. And when you live from this space, the world no longer tells you who you are. You begin to tell the world, not in arrogance, but in certainty, not in pride, but in peace. Because now you remember, the past is not the cause. Your thoughts are, and you are the thinker. You are the chooser. You are the I am behind the storm. And the moment you awaken to that is the moment you are born again. Now breathe again, gently, slowly. Let every exhale carry away a thought that no longer serves. Let every inhale welcome in the peace that was waiting beneath the noise. You are not here to repeat, you are here to remember. And what you remember becomes your freedom. Let it be so. And so we return again, not to the past, but to the present, the only place you have ever truly lived. Every second you spend regretting yesterday is a second you've stolen from the miracle of now. And the now does not ask you to be better than you were. It only asks you to be fully, without judgment, without resistance, without story. What is this moment if not a blank canvas awaiting the brush of your awareness? What is your breath if not the wind of God moving through your body, reminding you that you are still here, still capable of healing, still more than what they said, still more than what you believed. There is no expiration date on awakening. You can choose this moment, yes, this one, to stop arguing for your limitations and instead declare with grace, I am not a reflection of my pain. I am the presence in which even pain dissolves. This is not a denial of what has happened. This is an embrace of what is eternal. And what is eternal? Love, stillness, the I am. The world may point to your scars and say, that's who you are. But you can look within and say, that was my lesson, not my identity. Pain is not who you are. Pain is a messenger. And once the message has been received, the messenger can go. You don't need to rehearse the wound to prove it was real. You don't need to retell the story to validate your worth. The universe already knows you're enough. Let that sink in for a moment, deeper than your intellect, deeper than your beliefs. Let it land in your cells. You are already enough. Not once you heal, not once you succeed, not once you make sense of the past, but right here, as you are. Because your value was never dependent on what happened to you, but on what lives within you. And what lives within you is the divine itself, infinite, unchanging, whole. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are not a broken branch on the tree of life. You are life itself, expressing, discovering, remembering. You don't need fixing. You need remembering. Remembering that behind every thought is the thinker. Behind every emotion is the observer. Behind every identity is the eternal. When you remember this, resentment begins to fade. Not because what happened was right, but because it no longer holds authority over you. Forgiveness is not weakness. Forgiveness is power. It is not about letting them off the hook. It's about releasing yourself from the hook. When you carry anger, you carry them with you. When you hold blame, you hold the pain. And the moment you let go, not from superiority, but from clarity, you say, I choose peace instead. I choose to be free. That is not passive. That is spiritual maturity. Anyone can relive the wound, but it takes a soul awakened to say, this stops with me. You are that soul. You are that awakening. You are not here to suffer for the sake of a story. You are here to rise as a demonstration of what becomes possible when we live from spirit, not from script. Can you feel it? That quiet strength, it doesn't scream, it simply is. It doesn't compete, it doesn't compare, it doesn't defend. It knows this is the space you return to when you stop listening to the world and start listening to the whisper of your own soul. That whisper that says, I am light, I am here, I am not what was done to me, I am what I allow myself to become. This is not self-help, this is self-realization. The deepest kind of help you can ever receive is to remember that the self you thought was broken was never broken at all. It was merely covered in clouds. And clouds are not permanent. They pass, just like thoughts, just like emotions, just like identities. But you, the one who observes them all, you remain still, vast, untouched. And in this stillness, you begin to notice something sacred. Your thoughts create your life, not your circumstances, not your childhood, not even your pain, but the thoughts you choose or the thoughts you allow day after day. Thoughts are not just passing winds. They are builders. They shape your posture, your choices, your energy, your future. So ask yourself now, what am I thinking? And is that thought serving the version of me I'm becoming? Because each thought either liberates or limits. Each thought either aligns or resists. Each thought either opens the heart or armors it. Choose your thoughts like you would choose a prayer, deliberately, reverently, lovingly. If a thought does not carry the fragrance of peace, it is not of your highest self. If a thought requires that you relive pain, control others, or defend your worth, it is not coming from love. You are not obligated to entertain every voice in your head. You are free to change the station. You are free to upgrade the story. The moment you see this, truly see this, is the moment you become the conscious author of your life. No longer reacting, no longer reliving, but creating. You were not born to be an echo. You were born to be a note in the divine symphony, original, whole, and irreplaceable. Stop handing your present to your past. Stop letting your history speak louder than your heart. Stop asking for permission from the old you, the version built in defense, built in fear, built in reaction. That version got you here. Honor it, but do not worship it. Because now you are being invited to step into something higher, something truer, something freer. You are being asked by life itself to live from the awareness that the past is not the cause. Your thoughts are, and who chooses your thoughts? You do. Not your parents, not your partner, not your past, not your pain. You. So choose again. Choose with love. Choose with presence. Choose with the knowing that you are not broken, you are blooming. Right here, right now. The petals may not have fully opened yet. That's okay. Healing is not a race. Awakening is not a competition. There is no finish line in eternity. There is only this moment and the truth it contains. And the truth is simple. You are already home. You were never exiled, only distracted. Distracted by thought, by fear, by the echo of old stories. But now, the stories grow quiet. Now, the storm loses interest. Now, the soul speaks louder than the noise. And what does it say? I am. That is the beginning and the end. There is no greater mantra. There is no more powerful identity. I am. Everything else is decoration. So choose the decorations that honor the temple. Choose the thoughts that reflect your divinity. Choose the words that bring healing, not harm. Choose the vision that serves love, not fear. And when you fall, as we all do, fall gently, fall mindfully, and remember that even in your falling, you are being held by grace, by spirit, by the infinite intelligence that birthed galaxies and still had the precision to breathe life into you. You are not small. You are not powerless. You are not defined by yesterday. You are the awareness that can create heaven in this moment through the thought you think next. So what will you choose? The past or the present? The pain or the peace? The repetition or the rebirth? This is your moment. This is your turning point. This is the chapter where the character looks up and remembers, I am not the wound. I am the healer. Let this be that moment. Let this be the breath where the old self dissolves and the eternal self shines through, radiant, unafraid, limitless. And so it is. Every moment you choose to return to your breath instead of your past, you reclaim your life. Every time you notice a thought trying to pull you back into an old identity and gently say, no, thank you. I am choosing something higher now. You create a new world inside of you. You are not waiting for a new life. You are creating it one thought, one breath, one quiet act of awareness at a time. You don't need to fix the past. You only need to stop assigning it the role of master. The master is always your awareness, never the memory. The master is your capacity to stop in the middle of the storm and ask, who is watching all of this? And the answer comes not in words, but in silence. I am. This is the real healing, not rearranging the furniture of your past, but remembering you were never the furniture. You were the room. You were the space it all happened in. And space is never harmed by the things it contains. You are that space, vast, sacred, infinite. When you begin to live from that space, you stop blaming, you stop clinging, and you stop defending what no longer serves your evolution. The ego will fight for the past. It always does. Because the past gives the ego its job, its identity, its story, its sense of specialness. The ego is fed by pain. It collects grievances like trophies and wears suffering like a badge. But the soul is not impressed by suffering. The soul does not identify with how much you've endured. The soul is only interested in how much you've awakened. And awakening only happens when you stop looking back to justify where you are. You don't need justification, you need presence. You need the courage to say, what I think now matters more than what they did then. That one sentence can change your life if you allow it, because your power was never taken. It was only postponed, waiting for the moment you remembered. I get to choose what I think. I get to choose what I feel. I get to choose who I become. And so many carry the weight of invisible chains, assumptions, conclusions, decisions made at age 6, age 16, age 30, frozen in time, still ruling the present moment. But all of that can be released not through force, but through seeing. Seeing that a belief is just a thought you've kept thinking, and freedom is just a choice you keep choosing. There are no locked doors in your mind, only doors you haven't tried to open lately. What thought have you given authority that no longer deserves it? What belief do you keep kneeling before that keeps you smaller than your soul? There is no spiritual prize for holding on to what hurts. There is only delay. Delay of joy, delay of lightness, delay of expansion. But the moment you let it go, truly let it go, the room floods with clarity, the body relaxes, the future feels different, not because the world changed, but because your mind did. And it's always been your mind. Your thoughts about them. Your thoughts about you. Your thoughts about what is and what could be. And just like that, the entire narrative can change. Because you changed your lens. Because you stopped editing the movie of your life with a script written in fear. Now you are writing with love. Now you are choosing on purpose. Now you are becoming, instead of repeating, and this is not about perfection, it's about presence, it's about intention. It's about waking up in the middle of your day and saying, I am here, I am alive, I am no longer sleeping inside the armor of the past. Because that armor, it kept you safe, but it also kept you numb. It protected you, but it also prevented you. And now you are brave enough to take it off. You don't need to wear pain as proof anymore. You don't need to carry guilt as evidence. You don't need to replay scenes just to feel in control. Real control comes from surrender. Real strength comes from softness. Real freedom comes from the willingness to feel everything and still choose love. And yes, love is a choice. It is not a reward. It is not something you wait to feel. It is something you bring even into the mess, even into the memory, even into the moment that once broke you, because you are not here to stay broken. You are here to shine. You are here to radiate. You are here to remember that your soul is made of light, not scars. The scars were never the end of the story. They were the part where the story turns, where you stop running, where you stop identifying as the wound, and instead become the medicine. You are the medicine. Your presence, your awareness, your stillness, your ability to sit in silence and see clearly, that is the healing the world needs. And you begin by offering it to yourself. Offer yourself truth. Offer yourself forgiveness. Offer yourself the grace to let go, not because you're weak, but because you're ready to be free. Let others carry their own stories. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to suffer to be understood. You only have to be true to your own healing. Because the moment you stop justifying your pain and start honoring your light, the entire universe rearranges itself in support. You start meeting people who mirror your new beliefs. You start walking through doors that only open to your new vibration. You start seeing your life not as something happening to you, but something blooming from you. And that is the miracle. That is the rebirth. Not a change in what the world gives you, but a change in what you bring to the world. And it all begins with one shift. The past is not the cause. Your thoughts are, so let your thoughts become your sanctuary. Let them be clean. Let them be sacred. Let them be soft like prayer, strong like sunlight, quiet like truth. Speak to yourself like someone you love. Think of yourself like someone worth knowing. Honor yourself like someone sent here for a divine reason. Because you were. And you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are remembering. You are awakening. You are returning to a self that never left, only waited patiently beneath the noise, the fear, the identity, waited for you to be still long enough to hear the truth whisper back. You were always the one you were waiting for. And that is where your real life begins. You are not late to your own life. The timeline you thought you missed was never real. The milestones they taught you to chase were never yours. The only true moment is this one, and you have arrived in it whole. You don't need more time. You need more truth. And the truth is you can stop searching for what you already are. You are peace. You are joy. You are the infinite light looking out through finite eyes. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to express it. And expression has no need for justification. You don't need to justify why you let go. You don't need to explain why you stopped hurting yourself with memories. You don't owe anyone a reason for your healing. Your peace is reason enough. The mind may still wander, yes. It may knock on the doors of old houses and try to move back in, but you are the landlord of your awareness now. You decide what thoughts get to stay. You decide what thoughts feed your spirit. You decide what gets your energy. And the most sacred use of your energy is not in managing your past. It's in living your present. So few truly live. They exist, they maintain, they perform, but they do not live. To live is to risk being seen, not as a version crafted to be accepted, but as a soul willing to be real. To live is to laugh when nothing makes sense. To live is to cry. When the moment breaks, you open. To live is to walk into each sunrise saying, today I choose again. Today I remember that nothing behind me has the power to define me. And that is how you begin to create your life, not from defense, not from trauma, but from design, divine design, inspired thought, intentional living. You begin to speak differently with less urgency, more sincerity. You begin to move differently, not chasing, but flowing. You begin to think differently from fear to faith, from worry to wonder, from resentment to reverence. And this shift, this sacred shift, begins within. It always begins within, because the outer world is only ever a mirror. If you carry stories of unworthiness, the world will echo it. If you carry beliefs of limitation, the world will reflect it. But if you carry the vibration of truth, that you are the thinker of your thoughts, the chooser of your path, the presence behind the story, then the world bends. Not because it changes, but because your perception is no longer clouded by illusion. And that's the real miracle. Not changing what's out there, but realizing what was never in the way. The obstacle was never the pain. It was the meaning you gave to it. The obstacle was never the past. It was your loyalty to it. And when you finally lay down that loyalty, not in bitterness, not in blame, but in clarity, something holy happens. Your soul breathes, not the shallow breath of survival. but the deep, steady breath of remembrance. This is who I am, not what they said, not what happened, not what I failed to become, but who I've always been underneath the noise, behind the thought, beyond the name. I am, and this I am is not in conflict. It is not bound by shame. It does not need permission. It simply is. And that isness, that unshakable, eternal presence, is the true foundation of freedom. Not freedom from life, but freedom in life. Freedom in choosing a new thought, a new pattern, a new possibility. You can begin again, not by forgetting, but by no longer being defined by remembering. The past will still visit sometimes. That's okay. Let it pass like weather. Let it knock and keep walking. Let it rise and fall like every wave that has ever kissed the shore and disappeared back into the sea. You are not here to hold every wave. You are here to become the ocean. Vast, silent, unmoved. The past is not the cause. Your thoughts are, so choose thoughts that love you. Choose thoughts that breathe life into your body, that make your chest open instead of tighten, that remind you you are safe now, you are home now. And the most beautiful thing about this inner home is that no one can evict you from it. No trauma can foreclose it. No opinion can decorate it with doubt, because you built it. And what you build from presence cannot be destroyed by the past. So build with words of kindness. Build with thoughts of abundance. Build with a vision of your soul on fire with purpose. Build not because you are escaping what was, but because you are finally listening to what is. And what is sacred. You breathing, you forgiving, you softening, you choosing peace again and again, like a prayer, like a promise, like the rhythm of the divine whispering through your choices. This is what transformation looks like. It's not always loud. It's not always visible. Sometimes it looks like silence instead of a reaction. Sometimes it looks like walking away without explaining yourself. Sometimes it looks like smiling for no reason other than the fact that you no longer live inside a prison of your own creation. And sometimes it looks like this moment, this very one where you're still and something within you knows, I'm not going back, I'm not repeating, I'm not thinking that thought again. Because that thought doesn't belong to the real me. The real me is light. The real me is free. The real me is here. No longer a servant to memory, no longer a hostage to emotion, no longer a believer in inherited limitations, but here, awake, alive, surrendered, and in that surrender, you become unstoppable. Not in the way the world teaches, not with force or domination or conquest, but with peace, with presence, with the gentle, unshakable power of someone who no longer identifies with suffering. You will walk differently. You will speak with less noise and more meaning. You will love with fewer conditions. You will create from inspiration, not obligation. And your life will begin to mirror the shift that happened within. Not the moment you got revenge or closure or understanding, but the moment you stopped asking the past to give you anything and started offering the present everything. That is when life opens. That is when you stop existing and start living. That is when you remember the past is not the cause. Your thoughts are. And you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You are the sky they float through. You are the soul remembering its own light. And this light, your light, needs no apology. Let it shine. Let it soften. Let it guide you not back to what was, but forward to what always was and what always will be. The you that is free. The you that is whole. The you that was never lost, only ready to be seen. Welcome home. You've arrived. You are here. You are enough. You are free. And so it is. There is a sacred moment in every soul's journey when it finally stops running, not from the world, not from failure, not even from pain, but from itself. A moment so quiet it cannot be heard with the ears, yet so loud it echoes through lifetimes. That is the moment of awakening. And it is not found in striving nor earned through suffering. It comes when you realize this one truth. You cannot move forward holding on. It's a simple sentence, almost forgettable, yet within it lies the entire path to peace, to love, to healing, to liberation. And like all great truths, it doesn't need your agreement to remain true. It only asks for your surrender. But that, for many, is the hardest part, because we cling not only to what hurt us, but to what shaped us. We cling to old identities, to past betrayals, to outdated beliefs, to fear disguised as loyalty, to guilt disguised as love, to pain disguised as purpose. We say we want freedom, but we carry chains of memory around our neck like heirlooms. We say we want peace, but we fuel wars inside our minds with stories of how it should have been, how they should have acted, how we should have known. But life is not lived in the should. It is lived in the now. And now this breath, this moment, this heartbeat is not waiting for you to fix the past. It's waiting for you to release it. Letting go is not forgetting. It is remembering who you are without the burden. It is not denial. It is deeper acceptance. It is saying, I no longer choose to be bound by what no longer serves the becoming of my soul. And that is not weakness. That is not spiritual bypassing. That is the courage of a soul who has seen the fire walk through the ashes and no longer wishes to carry the smoke. You were not born to carry resentment like a badge. You were not created to wear your pain like identity. You were not placed in this body to rehearse tragedy or cling to stories that diminish your light. You are not the wound. You are not the betrayal. You are not the shame. You are the awareness that sees it, the presence that observes it, the light that transcends it. But that light cannot move if you keep anchoring it to old storms. The past is not a place you live. It is a classroom you pass through. And if you don't leave the classroom, you cannot graduate. If you keep rewriting the same paragraph of pain in your mind, how can the next chapter begin? The story of your life is not meant to be one sentence on repeat. It is meant to evolve, to rise, to grow wings. But first, you must loosen your grip on the weight. Ask yourself gently, what have I been holding on to that is holding me back? Is it an apology I never received? A mistake I made years ago? A love that didn't stay? A parent who never saw me? A self-image rooted in survival but starving my spirit? These things, real as they were, are not real now. They are echoes. And you, dear soul, are not an echo. You are the sound. You are the presence. You are the living, breathing miracle that was never meant to dwell in shadows. The ego will tell you that letting go is losing, that forgiveness is weakness, that your pain is power, and to release it is to betray yourself. But the ego is the voice of fear, and fear is clever but not wise. It will try to convince you that if you let go, you'll lose control. But here's the paradox. Only in surrender do you find real control. Only in release do you find peace. Only in unclenching do your hands become free to receive the gifts of now. There is no freedom in reliving the betrayal. There is no healing in reopening the wound. There is no love in rehearsing your unworthiness. So when will you stop? Not because you're forced to, not because someone told you to, but because your soul is tired of dragging yesterday into today, because your heart is heavy with stories that no longer speak your truth, because somewhere deep inside you remember what it felt like to be free before the world told you to be ashamed, before life convinced you to fear, before you mistook survival for identity. You are not here to survive anymore. You are here to live fully, freely, boldly, and living cannot happen in reverse. Release is not a moment. It is a practice a daily offering of the soul, a choice to say, today, I no longer participate in my own imprisonment. It's waking up and gently, without blame, without shame, placing one thought after another on the altar of surrender. It's saying to your mind, thank you for protecting me, but I don't need this story to be safe anymore. I don't need this pain to remind me who I am, because who you are does not come from what hurt you. It comes from what lives beneath the hurt, the silent stillness, the space between thoughts. The observer who never changes, no matter how much your story does, this observer, this divine spark, is always whispering, let it go. Let it go so you can rise. Let it go so you can feel joy without fear. Let it go so you can move forward not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Let it go not because it didn't matter, but because you do. And that's the heart of it. You matter more than the memory. You matter more than the injustice. You matter more than the approval you never got. Your peace matters more than your need to be right. Your freedom matters more than the familiar pain you've rehearsed for years. But to honor your worth, you must be willing to unclench, to stop worshiping the pain as teacher and begin seeing it as doorway, to stop bowing at the altar of memory and begin dancing in the sanctuary of now. Letting go is not something you do once and forget. It is something you live. It is a frequency you choose, a vibration of lightness, a declaration of trust, trust that you are safe without the story, trust that you are held even in the unknown, trust that the future does not need your wounds to build itself. It only needs your presence. And the present, this sacred, miraculous now, is always whispering, come home. Come home not to who they wanted you to be, but who you were before the world taught you to hold on. Come home to your breath, to your body, to your being. You cannot move forward holding on. Not because you're bad, not because you're broken, but because life is motion and clinging is a form of spiritual paralysis. You were not made to stay stuck. You were made to evolve, to open, to expand. So loosen the grip just a little. Breathe into the space that opens. Trust what rises to the surface. And listen, truly listen to the still voice within that's been waiting, not for your perfection, but for your willingness. The willingness to be free. There is a place beyond thought, beyond pain, beyond identity, where all that remains is awareness, pure, infinite, undivided awareness. It does not grieve the past. It does not fear the future. It does not hold on. It simply is. And this place is you. The eternal you. The you that cannot be damaged by what they said. The you that cannot be diminished by what happened. The you that doesn't seek validation, doesn't chase worth, doesn't collect grievances as proof of identity. That you is still here, beneath the layers, beneath the noise, beneath the stories that you keep recycling, like old photographs, whose colors have long faded, but whose emotional residue still stings. You keep returning to the wound because some part of you believes healing is found in the familiarity of pain. But healing is not found in rereading the same chapter. Healing is found in the decision to close the book. You don't have to destroy it. You don't have to burn the pages. You simply have to stop opening it every morning as if your worth is still written there. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become in the space after. And that space, that divine, limitless, quiet space, is where your power has always lived. The power to let go, to forgive, to transcend, not because it makes what happened okay, but because it frees you from the prison of identifying with it. The greatest act of liberation is not marching out into the world demanding change. It is turning inward and saying, I refuse to suffer twice. Once for the event, and again for the memory of it. That is radical freedom. That is soul maturity. That is awakening. To awaken is not to fix yourself. It is to remember you were never broken. It is to gently, lovingly begin removing the masks. The one that says, I am a victim. The one that says, I am not enough. The one that says, I must be strong by never letting go. Strength is not resistance. It is surrender. It is the surrender of the false self, the one built on defense, on survival, on gripping, so that the true self can emerge. And when it does, oh, how light the world becomes. Because suddenly, you are not walking around armored by trauma. You are walking around open, vulnerable, whole. You are no longer echoing the past in every relationship, every silence, every expectation. You are present, here, awake. And presence, true presence, has no room for yesterday's ghosts. The mind will try to tempt you back. It will whisper, but they never apologized. It will shout, but you were wronged. It will plead, but if you let go, who will protect you? Let it speak. Let it cry. Let it roar. And then smile at it the way you would smile at a child who still believes monsters live under the bed. Because fear is a child, and the ego is its bedtime story. But you are the parent now. You are the one who says, shh, it's okay. We don't need to hold on to that anymore. We don't need to keep the pain to feel safe. We are safe now. We are loved now. We are free now. And in that moment, the soul exhales, because the soul has always known letting go is not loss. It is return. It is the return to your nature, to your wholeness, to the place before fear taught you to close, before shame taught you to shrink, before pain taught you to pretend. You don't have to pretend anymore. Not to be okay, not to be strong, not to be what someone else needed you to be so you could feel loved. Love does not ask for pretending. Love only asks for presence. And presence cannot enter a heart that is clenched. Unclench, let the light in. Let it find the parts of you that still believe pain is proof. Let it bathe the corners of your spirit where old voices still live, repeating old verdicts. You're not worthy. You're too much. You should have known better. Let the light find those voices and show them the door, not with anger, but with compassion. Because they were trying to protect you once. But you don't need protection now. You need truth. You need softness. You need grace. And grace is what arrives when you let go. It does not enter through the door of control. It enters through the window of surrender. It drips down like rain on a dry desert soul, refreshing, forgiving, soothing. And once you felt it, truly felt it, you will never again mistake holding on for strength. So breathe, and as you breathe, feel the weight begin to lift, not all at once, but breath by breath. Let each inhale be a promise. I choose life. Let each exhale be a release. I surrender the rest. Because holding on is not sacred. Letting go is. Holding on is not loyal. Letting go is. Holding on is not love. Letting go is. Love says, I want you to be free, even if you is a version of yourself still stuck in yesterday, even if you is someone who hurt you but doesn't have power over you anymore, even if you is the person you thought you had to be. You don't. You don't have to be anything today except free. And to be free, you must make peace with the fact that the past will never be different. And that's okay. It doesn't need to change for you to heal. It only needs your willingness to no longer carry it as your identity. You are not here to avenge the past. You are here to resurrect the present. You are not here to prove your pain. You are here to embody your light. And that light, oh beloved, that light was never lost. Only hidden beneath layers of thought, of memory, of identification. But light is not destroyed by shadows. It only waits to be uncovered. Uncover it, not tomorrow, not next year, now. Because every day you wait is a day you feed what no longer serves you. Every moment you delay is a moment you remain bound, and you were not born to be bound. You were born to remember. You cannot move forward holding on. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because you were never meant to stay in one place, especially not one built from pain. You are fluid. You are ever-changing. You are movement itself. Life through you wants to dance, not dwell. Wants to rise, not ruminate. Wants to create, not cling. So step into that stream. Let go of the banks. Trust that where it takes you is exactly where your soul has been trying to go all along. Freedom is not in the future. Freedom is in the decision to stop gripping the past. Let go. Let go, because the moment you do, your soul will rise, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as what it has always been beneath the story, a miracle. And miracles don't hold on. They flow. There comes a moment when the soul is no longer content with just surviving, when getting by, hanging on, and pushing through start to feel like spiritual starvation. When even your most convincing justifications for pain begin to sound hollow in your own ears. This is the moment of divine dissatisfaction, not with the world, not with others, not even with your past, but with the false self you've outgrown. Because pain has an expiration date, but only you can choose to honor it. You are not here to rehearse hurt until it becomes your home. You are here to outgrow it, transcend it, gently set it down like old clothes that no longer fit. And that's the thing about holding on. It often feels like protection when it's really stagnation. It feels like strength when it's really resistance. It feels like identity when it's really avoidance. Avoidance of truth, avoidance of presence, avoidance of the sacred emptiness that comes before transformation. But emptiness is not something to fear. It is the womb of rebirth. The ego will do everything it can to avoid this void. It will bargain, analyze, justify, and distract. It will fill the space with noise, with judgment, with replays and projections, because the ego knows that if you sit in the silence long enough, you will remember who you really are, and the ego cannot survive in that remembrance. Because in truth, you are not the one who was abandoned, betrayed, or rejected. You are the one who witnessed it. You are not the character in the story. You are the light that holds the entire story. You are not the mistake. You are not the regret. You are not the sorrow. You are the sky, and these were only passing storms. So why build a house beneath the clouds? Why stay anchored to a moment that no longer exists? Why continue to argue for your pain as if it gives you meaning? You do not need pain to prove your depth. You do not need sorrow to prove your strength. You do not need struggle to prove your value. You, beloved, are valuable because you exist, not because you endured. You are worthy because you breathe, not because you suffered. This is the cosmic truth. You are already enough, already whole, already free. You only suffer when you forget. And forgetting is easy in a world that teaches you to collect wounds like currency. You are praised for your scars, but not your healing. Admired for your endurance, but not your peace. Celebrated for your hustle, but not your stillness. But healing is not a performance. Peace is not applause. And stillness is not laziness. It is presence. Presence that allows you to finally say, I am ready to let go. Not because I am weak, but because I am done confusing pain with purpose. I am done mistaking familiar for right. I am done feeding a story that keeps me small. The story is not who you are. It's who you were when you didn't yet know how free you could be. And you are learning now. You are beginning to see that the only chains still holding you are the ones you keep feeding with your focus. That memory only has weight when you choose to lift it. That pain only echoes when you keep calling its name. You are beginning to see that letting go is not erasing it, is evolving. You are not deleting the past. You are releasing its grip on your future. You are not abandoning what shaped you. You are honoring what you've outgrown. And just like the tree does not mourn the leaves it sheds each autumn, your soul does not grieve the stories it no longer needs. It rejoices. It dances. It rises lighter into the sky of infinite becoming. Let yourself shed. Let yourself become. Let yourself be free of the need to fix what never needed fixing in the first place, because your worth, your divinity, your light was never broken, only buried. Buried beneath layers of not enough. Buried beneath they don't love me. Buried beneath I failed. Beneath they left. Beneath I should have done more. But you cannot breathe deeply when you are buried in shame. You cannot rise when you are wrapped in guilt. You cannot love when you are still holding on to a version of yourself who was only trying to survive. It's time to rise, not by force, but by release. Not by adding more, but by surrendering what never belonged to your essence. The pain was never yours to keep. The betrayal was never yours to carry. The guilt was never yours to wear. These were experiences, not definitions. Events, not destinies. Chapters, not conclusions. So take a breath, and with that breath, send love to every version of yourself who didn't know how to let go, to the one who stayed too long, to the one who held on too tightly, to the one who thought that by carrying the pain, they were proving something noble, something holy. And then, with your next breath, release them. Let the younger you rest. Let the sorrow be seen, then dissolve. Let the river of now carry away the residue of yesterday, not with effort, with grace, because grace is the rhythm of the soul when it's finally free from pretending. You don't have to pretend anymore, not to be fine, not to be strong, not to be perfect. You only have to be present. And in presence, there is no room for clinging. Clinging requires tension. Holding on creates resistance. But your soul was made for flow, for expansion, for becoming. And all becoming begins with release. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. We rise not by reaching, but by releasing. Not by striving, but by softening. Not by gripping, but by trusting. Trust the letting go. Trust the space that opens when you no longer identify with your pain. Trust the silence that comes when the ego stops shouting. Trust the you that emerges when the past is no longer your mirror. You are not what you lost. You are what remains, and what remains is more than enough. So here you are, standing at the edge of a new moment. A moment untouched by your past, untainted by your fears, and unburdened by your stories. A sacred threshold. And the invitation has never been clearer step forward. But you cannot step forward with clenched fists. You cannot move into light while gripping shadows. You cannot rise in truth while wrapped in yesterday. The soul longs to soar, but it cannot fly while you're still tethered to the anchor of what once was. And so you must choose not with the mind, not with logic, not with fear, but with faith. The faith that what lies ahead is more aligned with who you are becoming than what lies behind. And that is the real miracle of letting go. It's not the disappearance of pain, it's the appearance of peace. It's not erasing the story, it's rewriting your relationship to it. It's not pretending it didn't matter, it's realizing you matter more. You are the main character of your life, not the villain of someone else's. You are the author, not the victim. You are the creator, not the captive. But to create, to author, to move you, must put the old pen down. The one that only knows how to write in grief. The one that only sketches in scarcity. The one that doesn't yet believe in your joy. Hold your own hand now. And let the sacred in you rise up and say, No more. No more giving my energy to what cannot love me back. No more feeding the past with the power of the present. No more trading my future for familiar suffering. And in that vow, that sacred, silent vow, you are born again. Not into perfection, but into permission. Permission to love without fear. Permission to forgive without conditions. Permission to be whole without apology. There is nothing noble in keeping your pain alive. You do not need to honor it by repeating it. You do not need to prove your endurance by wearing it. What you went through shaped you, yes, but now your liberation will define you. The ego will say, but if I let go, who am I? And the soul will whisper, finally, yourself. The self that is free of shame, because it remembers that mistakes are part of growth. The self that is free of resentment, because it recognizes that carrying poison does not heal the wound. The self that is free of the need to perform, to prove, to punish, because it has finally come home. And home is not a destination. It is a state of being, a return to presence, a return to peace, a return to the divine. And that's what letting go truly is. It is a return, not a loss, not an ending, not a giving up, but a homecoming, a sacred reunion with your true nature. And in that reunion, there is no room for guilt, no room for proving, no room for replaying what already happened 1,000 times in your mind. There is only breath. And this breath, this holy inhale and exhale, it does not live in yesterday. It does not carry your story. It does not ask who was right. It only asks, are you here? And so I ask you now, are you here? Are you in this breath, or still lost in a moment that no longer exists? Are you ready to rise, or still bargaining with a version of yourself that was built on survival? Are you willing, not perfectly, not forever, just in this moment, to let go? To let go of the old pain, not because it wasn't real, but because your healing is more important. To let go of the resentment, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. To let go of the story, not because it didn't shape you, but because it no longer defines you. You are allowed to be new. You are allowed to walk away from the pain. You are allowed to lay down the guilt. You are allowed to stop carrying your suffering as proof of your worth. You are allowed to be light. And so, in this moment, choose. Choose freedom over familiarity. Choose peace over performance. Choose presence over pain. Let go. Let go. Let go. Not just once, not just today, but as a practice, a rhythm, a way of life. Because this moment, this sacred now, is waiting for you, and it has no room for what you refuse to release. So unclench, exhale, come home to yourself, and remember, you cannot move forward holding on. But the moment you let go even just a little, the universe moves with you. The stars lean closer, the wind shifts, and your path, once clouded by grief, opens with grace. This is your time, not to forget who you were, but to become who you are. Not to avenge your past, but to embody your peace. Not to prove your story, but to live your truth. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not your ego. You are not your fear. You are the light that has waited patiently beneath it all. And now that light is ready to rise. Let it move through you. Let it love through you. Let it speak, dance, sing, weep, awaken. Let it be your truth. Let it be your guide. Let it be your home. Because your soul was never meant to carry the burden of what no longer is. It was meant to live in the beauty of what always was. And what always was is you free. Hold. Now,